All right, so another beauty prize, Mr. Gheorghiu.
Yeah, we played the weekend tournament from San Jose in California, and I played against the young American Grandmaster Nick de Firmian. He was one of the most promising young players in that time. And we played the Sicilian, a very sharp variation. And he wanted to have finally the revenge. I had a very big score against Nick de Firman. He was a very tactical player, and he took many risks, in every position. So as usual in Sicilian, if you take risks with white, you give your opponent a very good chance to play for win himself also. So it was the case also in our game here. So after knight c3, knight bd7, the move order is very important, f4. And here I played the move bishop e7, which is the most normal move. In some other game in Lompine, a few weeks before, I played queen b6, which is very risky. Finally, I could win the game, but it was very unclear until the end of the middle game.
But what is the risk with queen b6?
I mean, after queen b6, instead of bishop e7, I played queen b6.
Yes.
Yeah. And after bishop e3, very good move, queen b6, bishop e3, because it is the only move. If he doesn't play bishop e3, he loses a piece instead. But now after bishop e3, queen takes b2, and he sacrifices a piece, and it's very unclear. Knight b5, knight c b5. So now you have to take in b5. He has to, takes with the knight, with tempo, no?
Yes.
Queen b4, the only move, no? And now you lose the rook in a8, king e7, e7,
king
e7, yeah. Knight takes a8 and queen a5, and this is very unclear position. Queen a5, and now after e5 is very, very unclear position. Maybe white is better, black is better, nobody knows who is better. But finally, okay, I won the game, but it was very complicated. It was necessary to play again the same thing, So I played the normal move, bishop e7. Okay, and after bishop e7, king h1, we have a normal position, normal c9, castle, okay. And now queen e1, he wants to come quickly with the queen on the king side, to have something. So, okay, knight c5, the best move probably to get rid of the bishop from d3. This is a good idea for black. So bishop d2, I took in d3, no? He took in d3, and knight d7. This is the best move order for black. Bishop e3, bishop f6. Okay. Black controls the central square, has a very good counterplay, and the position is all right. It's playable for both. But white has to do something, black has two bishops. By playing now b5 and bishop b7, the position is all right. But black has no problem after the opening, So after bishop f6, knight f3, he threatens to play immediately d4, and later on he prepares to play e4, e5, as usual in the Sicilian, to have a very active position. So b5, of course, d4, bishop b7. All right, so now he played e5, and now black doesn't take in e5, this is very good. Without taking, plays back the bishop in e7. The position is very flexible, but now it seems that the result of the opening is good for black because we have a very good diagonal from b7. We control the white diagonal. Later on, the bishop from b7 becomes very strong until the end of the game. So rook d1, now b4, of course. Now he must move back, and then a5. Now we have some good play on the queen side. Black is all right. After the opening, black can be satisfied. And white has no clear plan. His plan is to move something on the king side, but for the moment he can't move very quickly something, So has to prepare knight g3, no? And after knight g3, g6, black, stops everything on the king side. We control the square f5. We control the square d5. And okay, white has to move back with the bishop to threaten the only good counterplay, knight g3 to e4. This is the idea. Yeah? So he moves back the bishop to c1. Okay. He wants to come with the knight in e4. Okay, we let him to come with the knight in e4. And now the best move of the game, f5. And now everything is forced. He has to take in f6 en passant, or he has to take in d6 with the knight. Yeah? So he took in d6, I took in d6, he took in d6, and knight f6. We take back the pawn, and now we see the result. Now we have a very strong bishop in d5. He has a weak bishop in c1. For the moment, he has no counterplay with the bishop in c1. It's like a pawn for the moment, you see?
Yeah.
So, okay, he has to give back the pawn. He doesn't give the pawn from a2, of course. Now we take back our pawn in d6 with knight e4. And he found the only good counterplay, knight g5, to have some activity for his pieces. So I took in d6, he took in e4, bishop takes, of course, and now the only move d5. He has to give the pawn, because if black has time to put the queen in d5, the position is terrible for white. I mean, the bishop from c1 has no play at all, and the bishop from e4 is fantastic position. We attack immediately with tempo in g2, and we play later on rook c8, rook c2, and white can resign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So d5 the only move. We take the pawn and bishop b2. Now he has some tactical hope to put a piece somehow in d4 and try to resist, and maybe have some counterplay. But it's too late now. Rook c8, very simple. Now we threaten to play immediately rook c2, decisive. No? So he plays rook d2, queen c5, bishop d4, queen b5. Now we control again everything. If he wants something, he has to play only on black squares, because if he wants to trade queens, the endgame is completely winning for black, Very easy. We play later on something with a4, rook c2, and so on, and it's finished. So, okay. Anyway, a4. Now he took in a4 was bad, because that gives many chances, tactical chances for black now. And later on, you'll see we give the exchange and we have complete control of the white squares, that wins by force, you see. But even if he didn't take in a4, was probably winning for black, because the difference is too big. The bishop from e4 is terrible, and the bishop from d4, is a spectator for the moment. So after rook g1, he tries to defend, but the position is defenseless for white. It's too late. So rook c4 is very easy from now on, but very, very beautiful until the end. How black can realize the advantage. Rook c4, bishop a1, queen c6. We don't give any counterplay. And now I played rook c3. Now everything is forced. He has to accept the fact that we give the exchange, because we threaten mate in 1. Rook takes h3 mate. So we took with the pawn, and this position is hopeless for white. The pawn is much too strong. It comes very quickly. So rook b8, we threaten rook b2, rook d1, the only move. So now c2, now rook c1. Completely passive. I mean, has no counterplay at all here. Queen c3, again, we threaten mate in 1. Queen takes h3 mate. So he has to move the rook. I mean, he gives the pawn, but we don't take the pawn. The pawn is not important. It's important to move very quickly with the pawns, d4, and arrive in d3. Two central pawns, c2 and d3, wins by force in any position. So king h2, d3, queen a7, rook d8, and white resign. But the position is very sad. If you look at the position, it's fantastic for black, You can almost never have such a position in Sicilian, because it's a dream position for black, that pawns like this, and d3, c2.
And with the bishop,
you threaten queen in 1, If you arrive with d2, if he gives a rook, is very little. I mean, it's a terrible position for. Okay, he resigned.
Yeah.
Well, here everything is very simple, but before was very unclear and very beautiful. How black could realize this. That shows the possibilities for black in Sicilian defense.
With this strong bishop, actually.
The bishop in
All
it
around.
was decisive.
All,
Therefore, black wins in every position.
all the strategy was around
the bishop there. Is
blocking.
fantastic position, blocking everything. Any counterplay, white has no counterplay at all,
Yeah.
and black plays little by little alone by himself. Until then.
True.
Beauty prize again. Yeah.
Deserved.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Very nice. Thank you, Mr.
You're-
Gheorghiu.